Well, good morning, Taylor, and welcome to our podcast, Hometown Hustle. We are so excited to have you here today and you to be our official first hustler.
I'm very, very honored to be here. Thank y'all for having me. Excited about this.
Yes, sir. You know, this is a conversation that I've looked forward to quite some time. When Mackenzie came to me with this idea, a few people ran my mind of, who could really embody, what we want to bring to the community, which is just a real raw, perspective of, how to grow and how to change. And, in the past year, me and you have just spoken so much. And, you told me about, your rebranding and how you've pivoted in life and just grown and, doing the things that you are doing now today. But, we got to figure out, we got to know, like, who was Taylor before that? Who was Taylor that led you to being who you are today?
Yeah. Well, I grew up here, on Hilton Head, Bluffton. My dad was one of probably the legendary developers on Hilton Head in the 70s. We moved back here in the mid 90s and, life was good when I was younger. Mom, dad, happy family, older brother. And then life kind of hit us hard when I was about 10. My dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. He died shortly after that. And, most people look back at that and think that was like the big turning point in my life where things started changing. It was, but what came after that, a few months later, my mom got very sick. She was in a coma for months and I didn't respond well. So from ages 11 to 17, I played sports, right? And that kept me out of some trouble, but I was running the streets. I was selling drugs. I was getting into fights. I was failing my classes. I was just not doing anything I was supposed to do. And that is kind of the first part of my life that I learned from, but failed so much. And fortunately, I had some people in my life that believed in me and had my back in some tough times. But that was kind of the Taylor that people that don't know me the last 10 or 15 years, they think of that Taylor, right? And I'm not ashamed of it because that is the person I am, but I do want people to know that's not me at the same time anymore.
Well, you've learned and you've evolved and you've grown and you've had to go through and sit in that pain that has probably forced you to learn and reconcile with a lot of that past version of who you were.
Absolutely. And, I'm sure we'll talk about more in the show. At the time at that age, you don't know who you are, right? You don't have an identity. And, so I went to people that were similar to me in a tough financial situation or fathers that are incarcerated or dead and things like that. And those are the type of people I would hang out with. And we all kind of went through that struggle together. So I loved them like brothers, but we made a lot of bad decisions together too. And it led me to 13 years old. I was on the middle school baseball team, arrested for breaking into cars, kicked off the team. 16 years old, arrested for strong arm robbery, and they finally had enough with me around here and charged me as an adult. And I was sentenced to only 90 days, and I get incarcerated and get in fights and end up serving 13 months. But that was a pivotal time in my life because I was away from some people, and I was like, you know what, I want to play college baseball. That's my goal, right? Yep. Sports, I always love sports, basketball, baseball, football, but baseball was always my passion. And so while I was back there, everyone else was either getting their GED or doing things they shouldn't. I decided to take high school courses. So once I got out as a junior/senior in high school, I was able to graduate high school and was able to have an offer, fortunately, and awesome. Be able to go play college baseball. But much more happened after that.
Yeah.
Too.
So did you find it hard to kind of coming back out your senior year to then even go back into a routine where now you're trying to become a good student again, but you're still battling that everybody knew that past version of you? And high school and middle school, it's rough because everybody clings to what they know. And sometimes it's easy to fall back in. It's all of the societal norms and you had those friends. And so you get out and you're like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with Joe Schmo again.
Exactly.
Did that reel you back in?
Yeah, that was, at that age, I wasn't mature enough, right? There's a saying, right? If you leave a door open, it'll eventually, even if it's just slightly cracked, it'll open, right? So I left a lot of doors open and didn't close them. So when I came home, I was it was almost like a badge of honor that I went and served prison time and things like that. So I didn't view it as a bad thing, right? I wasn't mature enough to realize, you know, this will be my life if I don't change. I hadn't appreciated life yet, right? We take so much of this for granted, and I didn't do that yet. I was still so young. My fault, right? I should have learned. So when I came home and got a college offer, I was really done. Like I wasn't. In my head, I was like, oh, I'll sell a little weed here and there to help my mom, you know, and little things like that because my mom didn't really have money and needed bills paid. Then I went and played college baseball, and the only time in my life was my freshman year. I was in New Jersey. I was away from everybody. I focused solely on sports in college, and I was all region, all conference, and played well, and I was away from that. And then the next year when I came to USC Sumter, I was close to home, back hanging out with my boys, and I started to get back into that lifestyle of, oh, my mom needs help, so I'm gonna, and she did, but I almost use it as an excuse to, you know, I'm gonna sell drugs. I'm gonna still participate in these things, even though I knew I shouldn't.
Yeah, man. One of the main things, you know, a lot of people struggle with is, you know, identifying with past versions of themselves and seeing where they do want to go and where they could be at. It sounds like you were dealing with that, and you know, completely leaving, you know, the past in the past and then stepping over and turning that new leaf, you know. After that first stint, and then, you know, you went to college and played baseball, you could say that you were doing relatively well, and then, you know, that segued into an even more serious situation, you know, that led to a 7.5-year sentence. You know, one thing that I really admire about you is your mindset, you know, how impenetrable it seems to the outside, whether that may be what it is to you or not, you know, that's the vibe that you give off. And, you know, in a serious situation like that, you know, 7.5 years to think about, you know, what you've done. I'm really interested to see, you know, like how that looked in the timeline of your mind developing, and, you know, how you looked at everything, and then, you know, how you held yourself accountable, and, you know, how you hit the ground running when you came back home and said, you know, I'm this person, you know, there's nothing of that. And, you know, how it feels to, you know, still deal with, you know, who you were and, you know, leaving that in the past.
You know, so I graduated college. Within a month, I was incarcerated, indicted by the federal government. $1.2 million seized. Everything I identified at that point in my life was about money and status, right? All that was stripped away, and I was, you know, facing a lot of time in federal prison. And, you know, change doesn't happen overnight. Me needing to change the Taylor that I was currently into the Taylor I am now did not just happen like, oh, I'm going to change today. It takes every day being dedicated, waking up and being like, you know what, I have to be a different person. And it took years, you know, it took years, and you have to have a plan too, right? So when I decided to come home, I knew, you know what, I don't want kids in similar situations to me to make the same mistakes, right? So I want to start a nonprofit and cater towards those kids, men, women, boys, girls that are in similar situations where they don't have the finances, where they don't have the mentors. And that was kind of my driving force. When I was in prison, I was a GED teacher, and that kind of helped me turning into a better leader too. Because before because I was a coach. I was a coach at Hilton Head Prep before I was incarcerated. So I was doing things as well, but I was also kind of in the dark,
living a double life.
100%. And at times it was stressful. You know, it was it was a lot weighing on me. Running businesses, being a drug dealer, being a college baseball player, being a high school coach. It was just a lot going on. And it goes back to having that identity issue. So once I was finally incarcerated and away from the noise, right? Away from the influences, whether that be a parent, whether that be a friend, whether that be the TV, or, you know, all these things that influence us. The solitude that I was able to just sit there and realize, you know what do I want out of this life? And the things that should make us most happy aren't the money, the clothes, the cars, the nice restaurants. It's the helping others, right? Like y'all are trying to do on this podcast, right? It's the helping others and being there for them. And that was the driving force, honestly, when I was incarcerated. That's why I was a GED teacher. That's why I did workout classes, and that's why I wanted to open up once I came home, a nonprofit. So then kids in my situation don't have to go through what I did. And that was honestly the one thing that just had me motivated and made me wake up each day. I was like, you know, I have to get better. And you know, there's still times I, you know, don't react the right way, and I'm not gonna say the old Taylor comes out, but the immature part of me still comes out. But it's a daily process, a daily grind, just trying to be a better person each day.
Yeah, man. That's deep, man. Yeah, I mean, the Lowcountry Legacy nonprofit, we did a toy drive together. You also helped out at my church, giving out meals. And this was my first year doing that. And, you know, for me, I say that was probably the most gratifying moment of my life to this day. You know, we brought a whole bunch of toys and no kids came, and then we're packing up, and then, you know, 4 or 5 little kids came in and they were able to get stuff. And I go to church and I see them wearing the glasses or the socks that they got from us. And, you know, that means the world. And, you know, you've spoken a lot about that. You've been home around 2 years now. I just want to know your outlook as far as what you're trying to do with that, and you know, what you're trying to build around here.
Yeah, so we're trying to grow it. You know, it's being a father now with a newborn daughter.
You got another one on the way.
Yeah, another one on the way. It's sometimes hard to balance everything. So I need to put a little more effort into raising money, and that's kind of what we need at the moment, is that there's so many kids out here that need the help, right? So we already have one student athlete that is in our program that we financially assist, that we mentor, that he has to attend church, he has to keep his grades up. We'll have another one here shortly, hopefully. We're running a basketball camp we're partnering with another nonprofit in Hardyville, Real Champions, which kind of caters towards at-risk kids in Jasper County. Families don't have much money, and we're going to run a basketball camp at Cross Schools for them. So we are in the growth process. It's just getting our name out there and having people willing to donate as well, whether that be time, whether that be money, whether that just be ideas. We just kind of need to get that out there. And the goal would be to have so many kids in our program where we can, you know, help them get to college, whether that be for athletic scholarships or just to, you know, get a job after high school, whatever the case may be, where we can help them and they don't have the means.
Being a figure that has gone through their own trial and errors, being able to guide a young individual to becoming the version of themselves that they're destined to become. And so that's going to kind of segue me into the next question of how, on days where you don't feel like you're somebody worthy of being a leader, and maybe you don't feel that way, but I know it's kind of a internal battle. But do you ever feel like, you know, I'm leading all of these kids, and yet I was a kid who was so lost and would have never listened to me? Or how am I worthy to be leading these kids when I've made the mistakes that I've made?
Absolutely.
That
is something I definitely can struggle with, right? But at the same time, it's given me patience where it wouldn't have in the past, where say there's a kid that's not listening. I'd just be like, man, I can't do it yet. Like, I just can't do it. But now understanding, like, it took me till I was in my mid-20s to finally really make that decision to change. So being a leader for them is, there were so many people that came into my life that wanted to help me, and then they realized, oh, this is a process, and they pulled away, right? But there's a few individuals that, you know what, no matter what I did, the terrible things I've done, they were in my corner. And that's kind of that motivating factor, is like, there were a few that stuck it out, and it's a grind, and you have to be there every day. You have to stand by them no matter what decisions they make, no matter how mad they make you. You just have to ride it out because they need someone. And that's kind of that difference.
Having the love, the mercy, and the compassion to ride it out through thick and thin.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad that you get to be that for these young kids,
amazing,
between
man,
softball and baseball and your nonprofit. I mean, it really sounds like you've got a lot going on. And now being a father of almost 2, you've got your hands
girl dad
full.
all the way, you know?
Yes. Team Pink.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're going to root that you get one boy so you can continue the legacy.
Maybe. I do think I think I'm destined to just be a girl dad. I do. And I love it. Want to change it for the world. So.
Yeah, man, that's great, man. But so, you know, Hometown Hustle, you know, we're centered, you know, focused on exactly where we are. You know, this is all of our hometowns, but there's so many versions of us that exist here. When you came back, or even in your day to day, because, you know, there's people that still haven't seen you since, you know, you were 21 or 22. I haven't heard of you since, you know, they knew the old Taylor. You know, obviously that puts a huge magnifying glass on yourself out every day in the public. You know, just walking into a store, they're like, that's this person, that's that person. And one of the things that, I think you have to have when trying to become the person that you want to be is a resilient mindset. And, how have you battled that just out every day, trying to live your life, being who you are in a place where, a real stigma does exist about, who you've been in a large part of your life has existed?
Well, I think first you have to have people in your inner circle that really believe in you, right? Because especially when I first came home, I was trying to get back into coaching and just schools just were not having it. And I completely understood, but at the same time, it was a little defeating. But, people like Jill and people that are in my life that believe in me, hey, the right person or the right situation, the right job, whatever the case may be, will come along. And I think that's kind of how it works, is you just have to understand, this may not be the right person at the right time, but people will believe in you. And those people that believe in you, you have to love them and respect them and appreciate that. And it starts with your inner circle, though, people that are really, really there for you. So when you hit a wall, they're there. Be like, hey, the right situation will come along. And that's key for me. Really is.
It's big, man.
And I feel like the one thing too that we often forget is sometimes it just takes reaching out. Like when you are struggling, reach out. Just tell somebody like, hey, I feel X, Y, and Z. I mean, I had it yesterday. I called Tyler last night and I said, I had a complete mental breakdown. And it happens because you put all of this pressure on yourself to become who you want to be, and you get defeated and you feel let down, and life continues, and you got to pull up your big boy britches and just keep going and chugging along. And
absolutely.
So one question that I did have for you that we asked each other was, what did success look like for you then versus success today?
It goes back to what I said a minute ago, right? My identity at that age was, especially, I'm early 20s, late teens, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1.2 million in Bitcoin and cash seized from me, right? I thought that was life. I thought the money and the status was life, and that was success. And it's a struggle still being young and trying to find success financially, but also now realizing that's not what success is about. Success is about being with your loved ones, helping others, giving back to the community. That is what I look at as success now. And don't get me wrong, there's times where me and my wife have those moments where it's like, you know what, is this ever going to pay off in the long run? But that's not what matters. What matters is the difference you're making in others and those around you. And that's been life-changing for me. And it started because being in prison, being away from everybody and sitting there and like, you know what? I don't miss the money. I don't miss, the status. I just miss being around my loved ones and coaching and helping others. That's what success is for me. And that's made the biggest difference in my life.
Yeah, man. I think that, there's two things to there. Number one is God, but number two, how you just, retooled your focus. But I say for me, everything's on God's timing. We met officially for the first time a little bit over a year ago today, March. My brother and I, we came and see you coaching in Charleston. And, you were nothing like how I would have imagined you to be. And then, another friend of ours, John Eck, he's like, hey, you should go coach the cross basketball team. And at the time I just graduated, I was riding my high horse, I could say. I felt like I had a lot of things going on. I was like, nah, and then a few months later, I definitely would say I was a little bit down. Things weren't looking exactly how I thought they would for myself. And I was like, what, I've got free time, like, let me go do this. And in a time that, I really needed support or, words of wisdom from somebody that was that's been dealing with, a multitude of scenarios that I could pull knowledge from. You were, a really inspiring driving force, reminding me, slow down, it's not about the money. It's not about all these things, reminding me to get into church, just stay disciplined and, just take your time with it and, focus on the main thing. But just tell me about, and I appreciate you for that. But
Of course.
just tell me about how big of a factor rediscovering your faith has been for you in your journey and becoming who you are.
I know. I was also going to make a comment. The ink on your arm,
Yeah.
so beautiful. And it just looks like it's all dedicated to God.
It mostly is, absolutely. And believe it or not, this was done in prison, so there's some talent there. But yeah, I grew up in not a Christian household at all. And dad wasn't. My mother, she's starting to change, but was super bitter towards God, where it was uncomfortable to even have a conversation. And that was kind of one of those things. It goes back to the biggest change for me was having solitude, being away from everybody. And you know what? God put some people in my life when I was in prison that didn't push the Bible on me, but was like, hey, check it out. Come to our Bible study. See this, see that. And studying myself, right, to really read the Bible, to really kind of just understand what it's about, that changed my whole life, because you would sum up the Bible in one word, and it's love, right? And when we are trying to make money, when we're trying to grind, when we're trying to hustle, that can get forgotten about sometimes, right? But if you do everything in love, that's what matters. And finding Jesus Christ, because he's been there the whole time, we just had to open our eyes. That was the thing I needed. And I think if I had Jesus in my life when all those things were going on in my early teens, that foundation, my response would have been different. Because so many kids go through things and not everyone responded the way I did. I just didn't have that foundation of him, and that changed my life dramatically.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
I mean, once you find your faith, and I think it happens at different stages. And for those of our viewers who have not found their faith, please don't take this in any bad way. But like, once you have your faith, even when you're having the worst day possible, you're like, God's going to turn this for his glory.
Yeah.
Even though I'm stressed and I have so much anxiety, like all of this has a reasoning and there's a purpose. And so just to kind of segue into one more question that I feel like would be important is, for young people in this area that don't know where to go, don't know what path to choose, don't know what to do, what would be your piece of advice on like, hey, here's where you should start?
Yeah.
Because for me, like, I always feel like if you can work on the inside of you first,
Absolutely.
the outside will come.
Absolutely.
And for me, the inside has to be the Holy Spirit and God within me.
Absolutely. I would say starting your morning off purposeful, right? There's so many times we roll out of bed and we pick up this phone, right? Or we, go do whatever. I think if you can wake up early, right? And start your day off purposeful, and whether that be read a self-help book, or for me, it's read the Bible, and you just spend a moment in silence, away from the chaos, away from the noise, and just get to know yourself better, right? That's the most important thing for me. The mornings I don't wake up, right, and I decide to sleep in, or I pick up my phone first, my day just never feels right.
Yep.
But the mornings I get up out of bed, I spend time, for me, it's reading the Bible, and I just self-reflect and think about life. That is when my day starts off the best. And it seems simple, and it seems not as dramatic as maybe viewers would like to hear, but if you just get out of bed and wake up in the morning and spend time in quiet, no music, no nothing, just you and yourself and your thoughts, and allow that to direct you, and listen for the Holy Spirit, right? And that will make the difference in the world. And I didn't do that early on. And again, prison, I'd wake up at 4:15 every morning. People would call me cuckoo. They'd be like, why is this guy getting up this early? But it was the only time I could get away from the noise and just spend alone. And that is the only time you can really, really find his plan for you.
Yeah, no, he's not lying about that. This dude texts me 4:45, Jim. I'm like, yo, bro. And I live further away, but it's all right.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe I come out to you next time.
But man, like, you've been home about 2 years now. You just jumped straight back into the community, dove headfirst into, giving and being a vessel for the Lord. Our biggest thing is we want to just loosen up, the relationships between, business and personal, and have a better understanding, especially since we're both extremely young, getting into the business field. Of making it a more, family environment, but, also keeping everything inclusive of, somebody could have a bad day. Like, last night I had to go check on my mom late at night, and then I missed a BNI. But then, not holding that against people or just having the understanding, or again, you say like leading with love.
Yeah.
What are some things that, you would hope that, you influence and carry, the sentiment or the feeling within this area of what you're involved in or what you want to see change?
Like you said, leading with love's obviously the most important thing to me, but I think it's just, you got to love the process, right? The journey. The mountaintop's great, but that's not really what life's about, right? The big things are great, but it's not what's most important. It's the small things in life. So you miss a B&I meeting, or you don't close on a deal and it seems so frustrating, or you do close on a deal, your highs can't be too high and your lows can't be too low. And you just have to just enjoy life, right? Like I say, if you lose the love for the mundane things of life, then you lose yourself.
Yeah.
Enjoy your cup of coffee in the morning, a walk with your family, and enjoy the small things, and everything else will fall into place. And that'd be the biggest thing for me.
Well,
that was tough. That was a bar.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on today, Taylor. Is one final kind of question. If you had one self-help book to recommend to the audience that changed you as a man, what would it be?
I would say A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Check it out. It changed my life, and he's a perfect example of not allowing your circumstance to define who you are. We think we've all been through a lot. That man went through hell. Check it out. Beautiful book.
I can't wait to read.
Absolutely.
And really, I just appreciate you sharing your story with us and being so vulnerable and talking about how you were born and raised here and you've become the man that you are today from every struggle, challenge. And just like you were just saying, life is going to ebb and flow. So find your happiness in the small moments and take it day by day, but 1% better each day. And that's all that we can ask for.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate y'all having me. I'm honored to be the first guest and just be on here. And anything I can do to help y'all grow this, please let me know. And I had a great time. Appreciate it.
And we look forward to see what Legacy does.
Yes, Lowcountry Legacy Foundation. Check it out. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Taylor Place, man. Great guy. We're definitely going to link all your stuff.
For sure.
For Lowcountry Legacy, if anybody's looking to, help with nonprofit, donate, even be a helping hand, we've talked about doing events in the future together, bringing the community together. That's what this is about. We want to build a stronger community, man. And I know that you're all for that, and we're all for that too, man. Amazing story, man. You're doing amazing things, bro. We appreciate you. And
likewise, y'all as well too.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
Glad to know you, man. I'm excited to watch the future, man. Thank you.
For sure. Appreciate y'all very much.